If the same diet that worked in your 20s suddenly feels like it stopped working in your 30s or 40s, this video is for you, because I know how frustrating that is. You feel like you're doing the same things you used to do. You try to eat a bit cleaner, you cut back for a few days, you tell yourself you're going to be more disciplined this time, you might even go back to the exact diet that worked years ago, but now, for some reason, the weight does not move the same, the energy is not the same, and the body doesn't respond the same. And before you know it, you start thinking, maybe my metabolism has just slowed down now, maybe this is just what happens after 30, maybe I just don't have the same willpower anymore. But before you go down that route, hear me out. I am not saying age does not matter at all. I'm not saying your body is exactly the same at 35 or 45 as it was at 22. That's not the point. The point is, for most ambitious professionals, your diet did not stop working because your body suddenly betrayed you after 30. Your life changed, but your approach didn't. Let me explain. Because in your 20s, you might have gotten away with random meals, more movement, harder training, fewer responsibilities, more sleep, less sitting, and a lifestyle that gave you more room for error. But now it's different. You have more work stress, more meetings, more sitting, more responsibility, less spontaneous movement, more meals out, often more alcohol, less sleep, more pressure, more convenience food, more evenings where you get home tired and just want the easiest option. And then you're still trying to use the same vague diet that worked when your life was completely different. So in this video, I'm going to break down why your diet stops working after 30, why this is not just about a discipline problem or a broken metabolism, what is actually changing, and exactly what you need to do with your protein, training, calories and weekends if you want fat loss to feel simple again. Because your body has changed, and your lifestyle has changed, and your responsibilities have changed, then your strategy needs to change as well. I'm Joey, the face behind the Office Body System, and I help professionals build a body and lifestyle that matches their ambition. And I understand this properly because I spent over 10 years in office environments myself, so I know the reality, the long days, the back-to-back meetings, sitting for hours, quick lunches, caffeine to get you through the afternoon, office beers, takeaways after work, telling yourself you'll get back on track Monday, then somehow finding yourself in the exact same place again the week after. And for the last 4 years, I've coached over 250 professionals through this exact transformation. People who didn't just want to lose a bit of weight, they wanted to feel like themselves again. They wanted more energy, more confidence, more control. They wanted their body and lifestyle to match the level they were trying to reach in the rest of their life. And one of the most common things I hear from the people in their 30s and 40s is this: I know what to do, it just feels harder now. And they're not making it up, it does feel different. Most of the time, the reason is not that they just suddenly lost all discipline. It is because their body schedule, their stress, their movement, their training, their food environment and their weekends have all changed, but their approach has not caught up, and this is what we need to solve. So let me break this down properly. The first thing you need to understand is that your life probably changed more than you realise, and this is where a lot of people miss it because they look at their diet and think, well, I'm eating similar to how I used to eat, but they're not looking at everything around the diet. In your 20s, you might have been moving more without thinking about it, walking more, going out more, training harder, playing sport, having fewer responsibilities, sleeping a bit better, recovering quicker, having fewer client dinners, fewer work drinks, fewer bigger meals out, fewer stressful days, and fewer evenings where you were mentally drained before you even thought about cooking. Then you got into your 30s or 40s and life looks completely different. You sit more, you work longer, you carry more responsibility, you have more pressure, you might have a family, a mortgage, a bigger role, a business, more meetings, more travel, more social events, more decisions to make, and less time where your day naturally moves around you. So even if your diet looks roughly similar, your environment is nowhere near the same. So when someone says my diet stopped working after 30, what they often mean is the same approach no longer works inside the more demanding life I now have, and that is a very, very different problem. Because if you think the problem is you will just keep attacking yourself, you will try to be stricter, you will try to cut more out, you will start again harder and harder, you will blame your age, your metabolism, your willpower, or your discipline. But if you understand that the strategy is outdated, then the solution becomes much clearer. Point 2, your metabolism has probably not suddenly collapsed. The second thing we need to talk about is metabolism, because this is where a lot of people go straight away. You've probably said it to yourself or know someone who has. They hit 30, 35, 40 or 45 and suddenly every fat loss problem gets blamed on the metabolism. And I get why, because it's an easy explanation. It feels like it makes sense. You used to lose weight faster, now it feels that little bit slower. So you assume your metabolism must have just dropped off a cliff. But for most people, that isn't what's really happening. Your metabolism does not suddenly just fall off the face of the earth the day you turn 30. What usually happens is that your daily calorie burn drops because your lifestyle changes. You move less, you sit more, you train less consistently, you lose some muscle if you're not lifting properly, your workouts become less intense, your steps then drop, your weekend calories become a little bit higher, you sleep less, you carry more stress, you likely eat more convenience food, and that's why it feels like your body is not responding. It's not always because something is broken. It is often because the amount going in and the amount going out has changed, but you haven't noticed all the places it's changed. And this is where I want you to be honest with yourself. Are you actually moving moving as much as you used to? Are you training with the same intensity? Are you actually eating the same amount across the full week? Are your weekends the same? Are the coffees, the beers, the oils, the sauces, the takeaways and the meals out the same? Are you sleeping the same? Is your stress the same? Because for most people, the answer is no. But because those changes happen slowly, you don't always see them. You just wake up one day and you feel like your body is harder to manage than it used to be. So no, I am not saying age has no effect, but I am saying be careful with the story you tell yourself, because if you tell yourself my metabolism is broken, you'll feel powerless. If you tell yourself my strategy needs updating, now you have something you can actually do something about. Point 3, you need to calculate your protein target properly. The third thing you need to do is stop guessing your protein. And I know protein gets talked about all the time now, it's a crazy buzzword, but most people are still not doing it properly. They will say, I eat quite a lot of protein, but when you actually look at the day, they might have a small bit at lunch, a bit at dinner, and then the rest of the day is coffee, toast, snacks, sandwiches, pasta, cereal, or whatever was easiest around work. Trust me, that is not a protein strategy. That's just hoping you're getting enough. And after 30, especially if you want to lose fat and keep or build muscle, protein becomes even more important, because the goal is not just to make the scale go down, the goal is to lose fat, keep muscle, support training, stay fuller, and build a body that actually looks better as you lose weight. So you need a number. A useful target for a lot of people is roughly 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Now the exact number depends on your goal, your training, your body composition and your starting point, but that range gives you something practical to work from. So if you weigh 80 kilos, that would put you somewhere around 128 to 176 grams of protein per day. And before you hear that and think, oh, that sounds like loads, this is where you need to stop thinking about it as this one big number and start spreading it across the day. Because if you try to get most of your protein in at dinner, of course it feels hard, but if you split it across 3 or 4 meals, it becomes much more manageable. For a lot of people that might look like 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. Breakfast has protein, lunch has protein, dinner has protein, and if needed a snack or a shake to fill the gap, this is where simple food works the best. Lean meats, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, protein powder, mince, turkey, whatever suits your diet and lifestyle. The point isn't to make it complicated, the point is to stop hoping you hit it, because when protein is too low, fat loss feels harder than it needs to be. You're hungrier, meals don't keep you full, training recovery is worse, you're more likely to snack, and when the calories come down, you're more likely to lose the look you actually want, because you've not given your body enough to support to keep the muscle. So if your diet has stopped working after 30, one of the first questions is not, how do I eat less? It is, am I actually eating enough protein consistently? Because once you get your protein right, the rest of the diet becomes a lot easier to control. Point 4, you need to lift properly 3 times per week. The fourth thing you need to do is strength train properly. Not just go to the gym and move around, not just get a sweat on, not just do random classes and hope for the best, actually lift. Because after 30, one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they try to diet their way into the body that they want, but they are not giving their body any reason to keep or to build muscle. And that's the last thing you want, because muscle is what gives you your body shape. Muscle helps you look better as fat comes off. Muscle supports your metabolism. Muscle helps you feel stronger, more capable, more athletic and more confident. And if you're an ambitious professional who wants to look and feel better, you don't just want to be lighter. You want to look like someone who looks after themselves. There's a huge difference. And for most people, I would start with 3 focused strength sessions per week. Not 6, not a ridiculous plan you can't recover from. 3 solid sessions done properly with challenging weights, structure and exercises you can actually progress, with most of your working sets somewhere around the 8 to 12 rep range for building muscle. That doesn't mean every single set has to be 8 to 12 reps forever, but it's a useful place for most people to live, because it gives you enough load, enough control and enough volume to actually create a reason for the body to change. The key word I mentioned there is challenging, because I see a lot of professionals who technically train, but they are not really training with intent, and there's a big difference. They are just going through the session, ticking a box, just going to the gym, same weights, same reps, same effort, and then they wonder why their body does not look any different months and years later. But your body does not change because you turned up to the gym, it changes because you gave it a reason to adapt, and that is where progression comes in. Point 5, you need to progress every week. The 5th thing you need to do is progressive overload, and do not overcomplicate this. But progressive overload basically means that over time, you're asking your body to do slightly more. That could be more reps, more weight, that could be better form, that could be more control. But there needs to be some kind of measurable progress. So let's say this week you bench 50 kilos for 8 reps. Next week the goal might be 50 kilos for 9 reps, then maybe 10. Then when you can hit the top of that rep range with good form, you add a little bit more weight, maybe 2.5 kilos, then you build it back up again. That is simply it. It's not sexy, but it works, and this is where a lot of people go wrong, because they keep changing the plan before they have actually progressed the plan. One week they're doing one routine, the next week they're doing something that they saw online. They change the exercises, they change the rep ranges, they do random classes, they go back to machines, and then they try a new split, and because nothing is consistent, nothing is measurable. If nothing is measurable, nothing can progress properly. So if your body is not changing, ask yourself this: are you actually stronger than you were 3 months ago? Are you lifting more? Are you doing more reps? Are you controlling the weight better? Are you training with more intent? Or are you just turning up and repeating the same thing? Because if you want your body to look different after 30, you need to give it a reason. And the reason is not punishment, it's progressive training. Protein gives your body the building blocks, strength training gives your body the signal. Progression makes sure that signal keeps getting stronger over time, and this is how you stop losing weight and actually start changing your physique. But even if you get that right, there is another area that catches people out, and this is probably the one most professionals underestimate. Point 6, you need to track the calories you do not notice. What you need to look at is the calories that you do not notice, because this is where a lot of diets after 30 start slipping big time. Not because someone is eating rubbish all the time, but because there are small calories everywhere that they don't really count. Oils, sauces, dressings, coffees, beers, alcohol, little snacks, a few bites while we're cooking, the extra bits at the weekend, the meals out that are much higher calorie than they actually look like. And this is where people get confused, because they'll say, I barely eat that much. And sometimes during the actual meal, that might feel true, but when you add the oils, the sauces, the drinks, the snacks, the alcohol, and the weekend extras, the deficit instantly disappears and you're way into the surplus. People don't want to hear this part, but it's super important. You can eat healthy foods and still not be in a calorie deficit. You can eat clean during the day and still wipe it out at night. You can be good Monday to Thursday and still ruin it Friday to Sunday. You can have a salad that ends up being higher calorie than a meal that you thought was bad because of the dressings, the oils, the toppings and extras. That doesn't mean you need to become obsessive, it just means you need awareness, because after 30, the room for error feels smaller. So track things you normally ignore for a week. Track the coffee calories, track the oils, the sauces, the beers, the alcohol, track the weekend extras, because you might realise your diet did not stop working, you just had way more than you thought you was having. And that brings us to the final piece. Point 7, you need weekend structure. The 7th thing you need is weekend structure, and trust me, for professionals this is massive, because a lot of people don't actually have a Monday to Sunday problem, they have a Friday to Sunday problem. Monday to Thursday is decent, there's good structure there, they eat fairly well, train a few times, they feel like they're back in control. Then Friday comes and the structure completely disappears. A few drinks, a takeaway, a meal out, a cooked breakfast, snacks, Sunday lunch, and a few more bits because Monday's coming anyway. And by Sunday night they feel annoyed at themselves and make the promise again, I'll start Monday. And that cycle can keep someone stuck for years. It does do. Now, I am not saying you cannot have a social life, that is not the point. I am not saying you need to sit at home eating plain chicken while everyone else goes out. That's not real life either. The goal isn't to remove the weekend, the goal is to stop letting the weekend ruin the week. So before the weekend starts, have a plan. Where are you eating out? Are you drinking? How many drinks are you actually having? Are you having a takeaway? Where is your flexible meal going to go? What meals are going to be staying normal? Are you getting your steps in? Are you training Friday or Saturday? What is the one thing you are going to enjoy without turning the whole weekend into a free-for-all? You can still enjoy your weekend, but you need to stop pretending no structure is the same as balance, because for most people, no structure is not balance. It's just the same cycle with a nicer name. And if you want fat loss to work after 30, you need a weekend strategy that protects the progress you're making during the week. So, what do you actually do with all this, Joey? Because it's one thing to understand why your diet feels like it stopped working, it's another thing to actually fix it. The first step is to stop telling yourself that your body is broken. It probably isn't. Your strategy is probably just outdated. So instead of thinking, I need to be stricter, think, I need to update the system. This isn't a complete life overall, and this is why inside the office body system, we don't just give people some random plan and tell them to try harder. We build around real life, your calendar, your meetings, your work demands, your stress, your social life, your current habits, your actual starting point. Because a plan that only works when life is quiet is not a plan for ambitious professionals. You need a system that works when life is busy. That is how fat loss starts working again. Not because you found some magic diet, but because your strategy finally matches the life you're actually living. So if you take one thing from this video, take this. Your diet didn't stop working because you turned 30. 1, your lifestyle probably changed more than you realised. 2, your metabolism probably has not suddenly collapsed, but your daily movement, training, muscle, sleep, stress and calorie intake may have changed. 3, you need to calculate your protein target instead of guessing. And 4, you need to build meals around protein first. 5, you need 3 focused strength sessions per week. And 6, you need to progress your training by adding reps or weight over time. And 7, you need to track hidden calories you don't usually notice. And 8, you need weekend structure so Friday to Sunday doesn't feel like you keep wiping out Monday to Thursday. You don't need a harsher diet, you don't need to punish yourself, and you definitely don't need to make your age a reason for stop trying. You need a strategy that matches your current body, your current calendar, your current responsibilities and the level you're trying to operate at. And if you want help building a body and a lifestyle that matches your career without sacrificing either, you can apply below to work with us at the Office Body System. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, because your body should not be the thing that makes you feel like the best years are behind you. It should be part of the reason you feel like you're just getting started.